pure truck. But she hadn't done that. So you see where you would expect, everyone expected her to see what we see, because we think there's an objective world out there that everyone perceives in the same way. Right? We have a sense. Like innately. That's why the doctors ask her, do you see? And she's like, no, I don't see anything. And of course through that, people learn, the scientists learn that can't be taken for granted. However, we have this notion that what I see, you must see too. Okay? I have a notion you see exactly what you see. Of course, you see things that I don't see the other way around. I mean, the famous example is my face. You see my face, I've never seen my own face. Don't say the mirror image of my face is my face. Don't say the photograph of my face is my face. So I've never seen my own face. I see the tip of my nose. It's long enough to see that. Tibetans have more of a problem, maybe. Noses are more flat. Okay, so the point is, yes.
Why do you say that? How is color from previous life?
I'll talk about it later. Yeah, let's leave this towards the end. Please, Rada, please remember for later on. Yeah. Okay. But the point is basically, we just impute things. Phenomena exist because we name them. And I think an easy example is the 100 shekel. 100 shekel note. Right? I said that. One specific Israeli example. That's in here. So with some things it's easier than with other things. 100 shekel note, what is it? It's a piece of paper. Right? Given out by the National Mint. And then deciding that this is giving it a certain value, imputing a certain value, and then when you see it lying on the road, you go, woo! Because we're so familiarized with that. I mean, a person from, I don't know, a different country, someone from India, for example, had no idea about a 100 shekel note, would just throw it in the garbage. Haven't done that imputation. But it seems to now have a value from its own side. It's attractive from its own side. We see it, it's like, whoa. But actually, it's so obvious how it's just imputed, because if you fake it, it's just a tiny bit missing. One is worthless and the other one's great value. The things you can buy, it's quite a lot. You can buy a lot of falafel or whatever for that. Right? I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, 200, of course, even more value, but the point is basically there's something ascribed to it. It doesn't exist from its own side. But it's almost like when you check your mind, when you see it, you go, whoa. Oh, yeah, like right away. It seems to have a characteristic of value. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, it's not like, oh, it's just the mint that's done that, and I'm just going along with that. It's merely imputed. Anyway, so the point is here that phenomena exist merely as mere designations, mere imputations. And so the 100 shekel note is a good example. What about a forest? Certain things are easier to understand than others. A forest. It's merely imputed on the basis of trees. Right? There's no forest separate from those trees. It's not like the forest is every tree. Okay? It's just given the name on the basis of that. And we're not satisfied with that. There seems to be a forestness. But again, that can't be found. It's just an illusion. So many objects. And we need to investigate so many other objects. Just like actions too. What is walking? What is the action of walking? It seems to be some inherent act, but actually it's just moments, different moments in time, a foot moving, going, putting down the foot on the ground and then lifting it again. And if there's a sufficient amount of moments and a sufficient amount of movements, we call it walking. That's it. There's no inherent walking. There's no ultimate walking. There's no walking from its own side. It comes from here, from the mind. So the mind, our perception, phenomena only exist because there's a mind. So, imputing. But even the mind itself is merely imputed. Does that kind of make sense, that phenomena lose their concreteness, their substance? Like, it's just imputing, it's just phenomena imputed. And that's enough for them to exist. They don't need anything more to exist. So it's the same with the 100 shekel note, with any phenomenon, the car. However, imputation is not enough. Imputation is actually not enough for something to exist. You must have a valid basis of imputation. Therefore, there's a difference between calling a rope, a coiled rope, calling that a snake, and calling actually a coiled body of a specific animal that can, has fangs and so forth, whatever is the basis of imputation of a snake, calling that a snake. So this takes away the randomness. It's not like we can make anything out of anything. It's still a convention. Okay? As a society, we have looked at the basis of imputation, which refers to parts, which refers to characteristics, which refers to a function. A function that something performs, a characteristic or characteristics, colors, shapes, and so forth. On the basis of that, we impute snake. But the rope is a very famous example, the coiled rope. Because even though the coiled rope is not the basis of imputation for the... okay, just for those who don't know. If you take a coiled rope that looks like a snake, you know, it's got the speckled kind of a pattern on it, and it's coiled around, and the light is maybe a little dimmed down, so we don't see it clearly. And oftentimes we go, snake! Alright? So, your snake, and there's a strong, ooh, there's an inherent snake there. So we take that example is taken. Why? Because even though one is actually a snake and the other one isn't, but both are the same in that you cannot find a separate snake over there. There's no snakeness in neither object. Whether you talk about the rope, you know, call that snake, there's actually no snake. We can very easily see that there is no snake when we impute snake on rope. It's a wrong imputation. This conventionally is said to be a wrong imputation, saying this, the rope is the snake. Nevertheless, it's an imputation. I mean, sometimes we wrongly impute. Okay? We wrongly impute. So as a society, we have decided on certain conventions that are right and conventions that are wrong. So wrong imputation would be if we imputed snake on this rope, because a snake is defined in a certain way, and I cannot call this a snake. But what they share, the similarity they share, is that you can't find a snake, no snakeness. In both cases, if there's a real snake body, if you look for some snakeness, independent of imputation, you won't find it. Just as you cannot find a snakeness when you look for when you impute snake on the rope. Does that make sense? Does it really make sense? That example of the rope. It's like easier with the rope because it's so obvious that it's not a snake. Yeah.
The emotion that I can have from believing that it's a snake and this is a snake would be the same.
Could be the same. So it shows us how we react, a very strong emotional sense, because in both cases we have a sense there's an inherent snake over there. Okay? We believe in an inherent snake. It doesn't mean we should not be careful with snakes. Of course we should be careful with snakes, because even though they only exist conventionally, that's enough for them to exist. Okay? It's enough for them to exist. They exist because they exist conventionally. So therefore, the point is basically, we have a sense there's something over there, independent of my mind imputing. But it becomes obvious with the rope, because it's just, in that case, it's just totally just created by the mind. But imputation, it's important to understand that there is a convention to it. We don't randomly make things up. There's a rule, there's rules and regulations to that. Yes?
Who's in charge to say that this is really a snake or a rope? Because
who's in charge? Everybody.
Because you could bring 10 people and 6 would say snake and 5 would say rope.
Oh wait, okay. First we need to see, and it's a little bit more than that. Just the word is not enough. So that there's a definition to a snake and a rope. Okay? So if we all agree on the same definition, so rope is just the definiendum. It's that which is defined. The technical term is definiendum. So it's that object which has a meaning. If we all agree on the meaning, okay? If we all agree on the meaning, then we basically all agree that it's either a snake or a rope.
No, but on those light conditions, bring 10 people.
Ah, okay.
5 would say rope, 5 would say snake.
Yeah, poke it. Get closer. Step on it. I mean, not literally. Pardon? Well, yeah, I mean, let's say, what do we define a snake to be? What is it? And then see and investigate whether there is one. Now, some may be wrong. That's a totally different matter. If you're wrong about it, you perceive that rope to be a snake. But you can definitely, if we all agree on what a snake is supposed to be, if you pick up the rope, hold it in front of them, I mean, that's the moment they definitely know it's not a snake. Right? Now, if you have a different country where dogs are called snakes, well, then, okay, that's the different matter. Okay? So we agree, as a convention, we agree what is a snake, and we have similar concepts, basically. And of course, when it really comes to the nitty-gritty differences, what's beautiful, what's ugly, what's meaningful, what is not. Their opinions very much divide. So there's certain objects that are very easy to define. Snake, car, truck. Okay, so you've been explained what a truck and a car is, and then everyone agrees. But there's other ideas or objects, phenomena, not ideas, but phenomena such as freedom. What is freedom? What is a terrorist? What is a freedom fighter? Oh, a lot of different definitions there. Okay, yes?
Still, we have some absolute postulates or absolute rules.
Absolute rules,
Yes, it's not depend on the culture or country, like what is bad and what is good, bad.
Yes, you're right, that's true. There's something like overarching, which most people would agree. Okay? Most species would, again, species doesn't just involve humans. So like if you have animals, it's a different matter. To kill a deer or something, in a very harsh way, I think most humans would agree that's not a good thing. But for lions, that's acceptable. That's very much acceptable, right? So let's just take from a human perspective. You're absolutely right. There's some conventions that are shared by all human beings. Okay? But there are a lot of conventions that are not shared. What is good food? What is delicious food? What is non-delicious food? Great varieties. You see, it depends. Good or bad, beautiful and so forth. But to not kill my family, to protect my family. I think that's an overall kind of, though there may be some people, due to some disease, they think, oh, killing your family, there's some insane people, and so their convention is different again. But in general, I think, because that's why it's called a convention, it's something where a group decides. Okay? There's a group kind of decision. Anyway, yes?
I have a question about the validity of the base.
Yeah.
Is it determined by everyone...
Consent.
The consensus?
Yeah.
Or by the aggregate of the certain rope?
Both are important. It is the rope, it's like the basis of imputation, plus the consensus. So both, like we have a consensus of, this is the basis of imputation that is valid. On the basis of that, we call it a snake. There's a certain function. Of course, the function can only be found among the snake body, the body and the mind of a snake. On the basis of that, we then impute. So the consensus is that this basis is now responsible for calling it a snake. So there must be a basis in the first place, but there must also be a consensus. But even that basis is merely imputed. And then that basis is also imputed. And it goes on endlessly.
A valid basis can be changed?
Yeah, it can be changed. Can be changed. Look around in the world, there's a lot of change. What we perceive a good education. Right? In the past, it was maybe memorizing the Bible. Nowadays, it includes other. So good education. What is the basis of imputation of a good education? It's changed over time. What is the basis of imputation of a scientist? Of a doctor? Letting blood. In the past, it was like, just get the person to bleed and stand around the bed not knowing what to do. Okay.
So more like critical. So before, like 400 years ago, the Earth was flat. Because all people thought it was flat?
That is a different matter. That's a different matter. So, what is the basis of imputation of the Earth? Around Earth. It's a round globe. So just believing in something, just believing that to be a rope, a snake, if it's actually a rope, doesn't make it as a rope. So it doesn't mean that you have a lot of people agreeing on something. It doesn't make that the case. So the basis of imputation was not there. There was no flat globe. The basis of imputation, just because people thought the basis of imputation was a flat thing, and therefore imputed a flat earth, the basis of imputation wasn't there then. And retrospectively, we can perceive that.
Likewise, how can I know I see a snake now?
Do you see a snake?
No, but if I would have seen a snake now, I couldn't know it's a snake.
Well,
Because maybe in 400 years later, someone tell me it's a rope.
Yes,
I mean, it's 400 years ago or now. I mean, you can. It's very easy to establish. With the Earth, is harder. With the Earth, we need certain tools to be able to establish it. With a snake, I mean, 400 years ago or now, the tools are still the same. You go up to it, you shake it, and you find out. Right? It's like some things that are beyond our capacities. You see, we actually only had our senses 400 years ago. We only had our senses to rely on, and our senses are very limited. But then through mathematics, through an understanding, like our senses, like just what we saw. It seemed flat. That's it. It looked flat. It looked flat to me when I look out of the window. But then mathematics came in, and they could establish through mathematics that was impossible. But then eventually found the tools to actually fly around it.
But you have to.
Pardon?
You have today these dogs robots that can chase after a ball and park. So.
Is that a dog?
No, but I can see it isn't. But this, the fact that I can see it isn't doesn't mean it isn't, because if I should see two dogs, I couldn't say on one of them that it isn't a dog.
You see, it just depends on what we call a dog. If it's a living being, well, the robot isn't, and you can find out. Take it apart. I mean, you know, it makes me sound very, I mean, just for the sake of getting over with it. But basically, you know, take it apart. Is it a sentient being or not? I mean, we can find out. So this is a wrong perception. We're not talking about wrong perception as such. We can have wrong perceptions of things, but then it's easy to find out. Sometimes easier than other times. So 400 years ago, it was very difficult for people to find out they were wrong. But the basis of imitation was the same planet. We can infer that the planet was round even then. Nowadays, we know. Yes.
So,
yes?
So this is the same with thoughts, that it's only energy and we believe that they are true.
Yes.
That's why we think, this is why it's important, because we think someone is angry about us, or we get insulted.
Okay, anger is very good. Let me explain. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes, she's so right. This is a very good example. We believe in everything as being truly there. The I, of course. Anger is a very good example. Abuse. Just think of someone saying something to you. How does it work? Someone says, you suck. You are balagan, whatever. I don't know, good, bad word. I know I can't, but that's not a good word for this example. So, like, you know, you're a bad person, okay? What is it? It's a word, it's a sound coming from another person, okay? And maybe they're angry. Maybe they are angry, they have anger. Out of that anger, it's like a chain of events. They say, you suck, you don't get past it. What do I do with that? Ooh. Abuse. It's like a cloud.
Bad person.
Bad person. But on top of that, there's this hurt. We get hurt. So it's actually just words, but we impute hurt. But then that hurt takes on its own life. Hurt. And it's like it's almost like there's a cloud of hurt. There's a cloud of negativity that I carry with me. And the entire day, right? I mean, I've had days, you know, someone said something abusive and it's sitting in my neck. You know, the entire life maybe. Yeah, my entire life. But let's just take a day, okay? Like a really bad day. Because someone said something in the morning. It was just words. It was words coming out of a motivation, Really, when I look what it was, it's nothing really. It's nothing that meaningful. But I make something really big out of it. There is these words. This is negative. I first in my mind, I start imputing. It's negative. They hurt me. How dare they say that to me? All the things I did to them. How much did I help them? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And then it becomes very solid. And we carry it. It's almost like here. It's like you can hardly stand up. It seems to be this cloud over you. It's just created by the mind. So when I give these example, truck, don't worry about it. It's not that bad you see an inherently existent truck, unless you're terribly attached to this. Okay? As I said yesterday, after 2 days, you may get really attached to this. But nevertheless, the truck is not important. The truck is only important to get the idea of what we do. But I say when there's an emotion involved, they did this to me. There's a sense I exaggerate the I. I exaggerate your importance, right? I mean, if you're someone I don't know, and you know they don't know me, you couldn't care less, right? But the taxi driver, don't even know me, so it's not personal. But if they know me, and I've done a lot for them, I see an inherently existent need to actually repay me person, right? Need to actually be grateful person, okay? And then the words. So in every, you see, like every event when someone says something to us, there are all these different things that come together, and everything seems to be inherently existent for us. But the worst is the words they say. They become bigger and bigger. It's not the words, it's the hurt. And then that hurt we carry. And we carry it maybe our entire life, right? It seems so strongly there. It seems to be so strongly there that we're even scared to look at it. It's like I'm carrying an evil baby with me. Oh, come on, look at the evil baby. Right? The idea of like we're carrying something invisible here that doesn't exist. I mean, it sounds cruel, and I don't want to say, hey, come on, it's all illusory. No, it's not like that. We shouldn't underestimate it. It's strong. It's deep. It's scary. But the first step is to look and say, well, is it really there? What is it? It's just words spoken, things said. Especially things that go back when we were little, very little. They seem to be much deeper. They're kind of digged. It's almost like they're in a big hole, and we need to remove all the stuff first, right? But it starts. That's the first step. Understanding this, and understanding that whatever our parents did, whatever people did, we added things. We imputed and then added more. So phenomena are really imputed, but we add things all the time. That's the worst part. That's how we harm ourselves so badly. Let's look at our own lives. What are the things that we carry with us? What is the chip on our shoulder? What is it called? Chip on our shoulder? Yeah. That chip on our shoulder. How real is it? How much of it has actually come from our own mind? How much have we added to it? Okay. It's very little that actually happened. And anyway, this is a whole, but this is how this idea is very much part of Buddhist psychology. Buddhist psychology is based on this. Our mind is doing things that harms itself. We harm ourselves. The words of the other person don't harm us. When they say, I screw, what? These words don't enter me and hit me on my head like a stick. Really, it's just words. Okay? But they want to hurt me. All right, it's a wish to want to hurt me. That wish to want to hurt me, how does it actually hurt me? It's not like a physical ding, 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 right? Yeah? Okay? Just a second. So, if it's not that, it's really what I do with it. That's what I do with it. And I hurt myself. These words don't hurt me so much. It's what I do with them. That's what really hurts me. And highly evolved lamas, you can see. You can go up to them and say, you screw. And they say, all right, let's have a cup of tea. I mean, they know it's not really, they don't see it, they don't understand it for what it is. They're not affected by that. You can go up to the Dalai Lama and say the most horrific things to him. He'll love you and care for you in the same way. He understands it's just a state of mind you're in. You know, it's like, it's nothing, it's just words. It's just states of mind. Okay? So then he's able to deal with it in a rational way, in a way that makes sense, in accordance with reality. When I say we're not in accordance with reality, it's much more complicated than that. We are totally engrossed into not understanding reality. But it's okay. That's all right. That's good. Okay, we are who we are. Let's be accepting of that and see whether we can undo it. And step by step you can. Step by step. Practitioners who practice step by step, you can see they're almost like stop being able to breathe. Because it falls away. All this falls apart. You see it for what it is. But it's a slow process because it's so deeply entrenched. Yes?
Is that why the antidote to all this business that we're carrying and past and blah, 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 is precisely the Buddhist understanding that you only live in the present because that's all there is. In other words, there is nothing.
Okay, wait. There is a past and there's a future, but it's all, the past doesn't exist right now.
It isn't inherently existent. Nothing is inherently existent.
Well, yes, it explains that. Absolutely, you're right. You're absolutely right. So let's take the past. We are not that obsessed with the future.
Yeah, I mean,
less with the future. We plan ahead the future. But what we're obsessed with is the past. We carry the past as if it was the present. Right? I am what people said to me. I am. We take the past actually is gone. Past is gone. It doesn't exist. But in our thought, we keep carrying it on. So there's great emphasis on the presence, because actually what is actually in this moment there is just the presence. Okay? But we can't see the presence for what it is, because we carry the whole baggage from the past. Right? Everything is colored. It's like we wear these thick glasses, tinted glasses from the past. Right? And everything is seen through those glasses. It's actually, we don't see what's actually here in this moment, because we have all these concepts, we have all these ideas, we have all this baggage, and we believe that to be reality. Less what is here, really what we carry with us. That's why. That's one reason you could say. So just be in the moment. Don't bring all that with you, all that judging and all that, it's good, bad, and so forth. Okay? All right, I need to leave it at that here. I know I'm actually a little bit behind, but never mind, because it needs to make sense to you. I can go on, and as Michael asked yesterday, why do I care? He's right. Why do I care how the truth is? I mean, seriously, what do I care? But it has serious implications on our life, not perceiving it. We need to understand all the implications this has, this misperceptions, especially with respect to emotions. The baggage we carry with us from the past. Okay? I mean, the problems we have, all our problems are that. They're not external problems. They're minor. They're minor. Because you need a mind to interpret it into a problem. Okay? They're there. I mean, no one says there's not the external happening. But if you look at it with a mind, all right, there's a solution. I mean, like Shadideva says, if there is a solution to a problem, why worry? If there's no solution, you can't do anything, why worry? Right? Can't do anything about it? Okay, well, let's move on. And if you can do something about it, why worry? Just change it. Okay? Really, it's such a profound line, really, such a profound saying. Because basically the idea being that we interpret the things, we make them, we have concepts, we label, we do it all the time, and then we believe them to be that way. If you were just aware, okay, that's just what I make the things, but they don't actually exist that way, that's one of the first steps, the Dalai Lama always says. One of the first steps, if you don't understand, it's almost the Dalai Lama, when you don't understand emptiness, and seriously, I don't. So in my case, it's like, yeah, I can do it in my mind, but when the problem arises, I'm not like, oh, it doesn't exist inherently. I have to actually sit down, have a cup of tea, and really reflect on it. So in the spur of the moment, I go, how there, you know, my habits, my usual habits. And what's helped me is what the Dalai Lama always says, at least think it's illusory. It's like an illusion. It doesn't exist. If you just remind yourself of that, in that moment, you can go, all right, it seems very real, but it isn't. I trust it isn't. It's just like an illusion. And already, some of the heaviness is gone. Right away, I can breathe. Have some space in the mind. Okay? So, even if you can't do that, just understand that it's just illusory. And then just sit down and spend time. It needs time. It needs a lot of time. And again, as I keep saying, no excuses here. You can have an 8-hour job and traffic, and so the things you can do while you're stuck in traffic. The things you can reflect upon. You can meditate on emptiness while you're stuck on the road. Okay? It just needs people, you need to overcome that laziness of, no, I just want to plan my evening. I want to think about what they've said to me. Ungrateful bastard. You know, like we kind of, yeah, in our minds. Okay? That's what we want to do. But really to force ourselves while we're driving, okay, just, does it really exist that way? Is that steering wheel really existent? Or the car in front of me? Does it really exist from its own side? Da, da, da. We can do it at all times. Right? Reflect on those things.
Just keep your eyes on the road.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't look so much at the steering wheel. First I started with, no, keep your eyes on the road and the car.
And
right?
don't fall into nihilism with your car, because otherwise you bump into...
Yeah, don't go into nihilism. Oh, nothing exists. Let's just go ahead. Yeah. So of course, it's dependently arisen. Dependence in terms of the 3 ways of dependence. Okay. So if we understand this a little bit better then, therefore, a lot of things, I and other, here and there, they're just concepts. I, other, here, there. It depends on other phenomena, long, short, and so forth. Everything is relative. Things are just relative. It depends on other things. I call it so and so, but nothing inherently exists that way. Even cause and effect, they're mutually dependent. The cause is dependent on the effect depends on the cause. Something is only an effect because it's a cause, and something is only a cause because it's an effect. Wood fire and firewood. Something is wood fire because it produces a firewood, and something is a firewood because it's like this interdependence. Can it wait a little bit? Yeah, let's just wait a little bit. I'll take some questions. Okay. All right. So having understood this, we now need to understand that there's two truths, two levels of reality. This truck is a conventional truth. It's funny to talk in that way. Truth seems to be something just different. But this truck is a conventional truth. Okay? And then the lack of inherent existence, the absence of that inherent, intrinsic, objective existence is the ultimate truth of this truck. Okay? So just bear with me. So the ultimate truth always refers to that lack of inherent existence, lack of this existence that we so strongly believe in, that appears to us so vividly. And the truck itself, all the other phenomena, all phenomena other than this emptiness are called conventional truth. Okay, so this is where it all comes down to. So please read again. If you can read over this again, I've given all this explanation I've just given to you. Some of it I've kind of neglected a little bit here. I've given it for the sake of giving other explanations. But then you can read it and hopefully it becomes clear. If it's not, always ask. There'll be a time when you can ask questions, and at that time, maybe mark it. Mark it, and then you can ask, what is it? It says so-and-so in this text, and you could clarify it. Okay. But let's just look at the true truth itself. That's our main topic. Having gotten some introductory understanding, now what are the true truths? Conventional and ultimate. And traditional, we look at the words. We have to look, what is conventional truth? What does that mean? Okay? In Tibetan, actually the English translation is not that good, and I use it because it's used all over. But there's another translation that's better. Anyway, if you look at the I don't know, the page number in Hebrew where it says the etymology of the true truth. 8. Page 8. Page 8, it says somewhere, it's got a heading that says the etymology of the true truth. Or in other words, the meaning of the word. Is it 7? Oh, in some pages, some it's 7 in Hebrew and some it's 8. Anyway, so Sanskrit is Samriti Satya. Never mind, I'm not going to go, you don't know Sanskrit. But I give you the Sanskrit because, well, originally the idea of a conventional truth was coined by the Buddha in Sanskrit, also in Pali, but the Sanskrit language is the language that the Tibetans relied on when they started translating the scriptures of the Buddha. So in Sanskrit, that was the word in Sanskrit, and then it was translated into Tibetan, Kunsup Denpa. So it's pretty much a literal translation. So Kunsup Denpa, first I gave you the spelling. First I actually had the actual Tibetan spelling. And I think it's still in the Hebrew version, is it? Yeah. Because I took it out. And then I forgot to tell Gila you can take it out too. So anyway, it's in the Hebrew, you have the Tibetan. But I wrote it in the English, I wrote how you would write the phonetics. There's a system of phonetics called Wiley. Anyway, it's not important. But it's pronounced Kunsup Denpa. Pronunciation here. So, Kunsup. Kunsup means, Kunsup actually means concealer, obstructor, Kunsup. So that's like, Kunsup is the conventional, the part that we call conventional. And then Denpa is truth. So it doesn't say anything about conventional here, right? It says concealer, obstructor. So therefore there are numerous different English translations of Samriti Satya in Sanskrit or Kunsup Denpa, the Tibetan. It's conventional truth, that's the word I use all the time. And the only reason I use it all the time is that everyone else always uses it. So if you come to read it somewhere, it's very confusing if I use a different vocabulary. So it's conventional truth. Sometimes it's called relative truth. Truth for a concealer. Now that's the word. Truth for a concealer. Or concealer truth. And then superficial truth. Some people use the term superficial truth. Anyway, in some contexts, one word is better than another. I mean, we find it more easier to understand, or find it more helpful. The truth for a concealer, and I think that's the one that's most unhelpful. That's the one that should be used. Why? Well, because the etymology of Samriti Satya or Kunsup Denpa is truth for a concealer. So that's the actual meaning of the word. In the sense that in general, the Sanskrit term Samriti and the Tibetan word Kunsup Denpa. So you have Kunsup. So you have the two words, Kunsup Denpa. Let's leave away the Sanskrit, so stick with the Tibetan, that's the easiest. Gunsop Dempa. So what does Gunsop mean? What does Dempa mean? Okay, and this is explained now. It's been briefly explained, but here it's explained in more detail. So, in the context of the phrase, the Tibetan term Gunsop has several meanings. So the Sanskrit word or the Tibetan word have several meanings, but in the context of the phrase Gunsop Dempa, okay, Gunsop with the Dempa being truth. The word Samriti or Gunsop means concealer. So Gunsop Dempa, Gunsop means concealer, obstructor, concealer. What does that mean? Here, concealer refers to the mind that conceals the actual nature of phenomena. So the ignorance. For example, in my mind, there's a specific mind, and it's not a sense consciousness. It's a mental consciousness that every now and then pops up. It's a mental consciousness that actively perceives this truck to exist inherently. Okay? That mind, having that mind, every now and then, it conceals from me the actual nature of phenomena. Because I have that mind, and every now and then it comes up. It comes up very strongly when there are strong emotions involved. At that time, phenomena exist out there, objectively. I can have a mind that is ideologically thinks that way, but I can have a mind that's instinctive, that's innate, comes deep from deep inside, kind of. I've carried that since beginningless time. So that kind of mind conceals reality. But to that mind, this truck is a truth. This truck is real. A truth means something that, to that mind, the truck exists the way it appears. Remember, there's a disparity. How this truck appears and how it actually exists. Okay? But saying that, that is in actuality. In actuality, there's a disparity. But to that mind, to the mind that perceives this to be inherently existent, there is no disparity. In other words, let's take the example of the sun rotating around the earth. To the mind that perceives that the sun rotates around the earth, there's no disparity between how the sun appears and it actually exists. How the sun seems to rotate around the earth, but how it actually doesn't. How the earth rotates around the sun. Okay? But to the mind that has that misperception, there's no disparity. Does that make sense? Okay. And you will see now how we move away from the objects, but we move towards the minds, the awarenesses that perceive. So when we talk about conventional and ultimate truth, it very much relates to specific awarenesses. Okay? We're not used to think that way. We're not used to think of this exists because there's a mind. Okay? But with the conventional and the ultimate truth, it's actually defined independence on a certain mind. But it takes some time and you get used to it. So therefore, conventional truth is the word Gunsop Dempa. This truck here is a conventional truth or a Gunsop Dempa because it is a truth for a concealer. It is true and real and inherently existent for the mind that perceives this to be inherently existent. Okay? It's a true object. It's true in the sense. What does true mean in this context here? Okay? There's a meaning of truth in the context of the true truth, and there's a meaning of truth in the context of the Four Noble Truth, for example. And it's a different type of truth. So let's not think about the truth in the context of the Four Noble Truth. In the context of the true truth, conventional and ultimate truth, something is a truth when it appears exactly the way it exists. When the mind that directly perceives an object, okay, we're talking about not Buddhas. Let's leave away Buddhas. Let's take sentient beings, us as sentient beings. An object is true when there's a mind to which it appears exactly the way that it exists. Okay? So this object is not a truth. It's only a truth for a concealer. It's only a truth for the mind that perceives this to be inherently existent. Because from the perspective of the mind that perceives this to be truly existent, there is no disparity. It appears to be inherently existent, and to that mind, it is inherently existent, right? All right. So from the point of view of that misperception, this is a truth. Therefore, it is a truth for that mind. It's a truth from the perspective of that concealer. Is it an actual truth? No. because it appears one way and exists in a different way. Okay, that's important. Yeah? So it's only a truth for that misperception. Yes. Can it wait, or is it
it's just a short question.
Yeah.
So among the two truths, one is ultimate and one is not a truth actually.
Yeah, we come to that. Yes, you're right. One is an actual truth and one isn't. We come to that. But to be not a truth does not mean it will not exist. Okay? That's important. Bear with me. So don't think that, oh, since she said this is not a truth, this is not true, she's saying it doesn't exist. No. There's a certain way, there's a certain reason. I say it appears in one way, it exists in a different way. That's why I don't call this a truth. Okay. So ignorance here, that misperception, is a type of delusion that acts to hinder or obstruct us from viewing the ultimate nature of phenomena. Okay? It views us, it's responsible. This innate kind of ignorance that is not always manifestly there. So right now it may not be there, but it still influences us at all times, even though it lies dormant. Because of that mind being so deeply entrenched, having such a strong habit since beginningless lifetimes, therefore, in this lifetime, everything appears to be inherently existent. Still appears, even though we don't actively apprehend it to be that way. Does that make sense? So it always appears. There appears to be this world out there. We may intellectually know that's impossible, but still, it appears that way. We can't help it. We can't help it. Just as with the sun and the earth, we can't help it. It still appears that way. We know it's not true, and it still appears. Okay. So, therefore, it's a concealer. So this ignorance it superimposes the characteristic of inherent existence onto phenomena. Therefore, it's a concealer. It's a characteristic that phenomena do not possess. Okay, I think it's all straightforward. So if you read this, it becomes clear. Okay. The Sanskrit term samvriti and the Tibetan word kunsop also connote obstructor, because the ignorance obstructs the truth. Right? Conceals, obstructs, hinders. So that's the meaning of conventional truth. Okay. But the car is not a truth because it does not exist the way it appears to our direct perceptions. Okay. There's a disparity between the car appearing to exist from its own side, but not actually existing that way. There's that disparity, there's that gap. Again, if you read, it's all in here. So, the appearance does not accord with the actual mode of existence of the car, because the car lacks such an inherent existence. This is why conventional truths are also called falsities. They're false, deceptive, sorry. So conventional truth, another word in Tibetan is dzumba. Dzun, actually dzun. Dzun means a lie. Dzun means a lie. So the lie has the connotation of being deceptive. It kind of communicates something that doesn't exist. So dzumba means a falsity, something that is deceptive. So this truck is deceptive. Again, deceptive because of my mind. It's not, it's like from its own side it's deceptive. It doesn't exist from its own side. But it's deceptive, I say it's deceptive in relation to my perception of it. Because it deceives me. In that it appears one way and it exists in a different way. But again, please be aware, this truck only exists because there's a mind perceiving it. Okay? It's very difficult to understand, but never mind. So, it's a falsity. This is a falsity. A conventional truth is a falsity. But, as I said previously, so gunsop in the sense of gunsop demba means that. Truth for a concealer, or concealer truth. But it can mean other things. Because, and here it gets a little technical, there's a great master called Chandrakirti. And in his text called The Clear Words, he said that actually it has different meanings. That's why we can also call the gunsop dempa, we can translate it as conventional truth, because the word gunsop, what we call conventional, can mean concealer, obstructor, it can mean relative or interdependent, and it can mean worldly conventions. So in Tibetan, the word gunsop dempa, sometimes the word gunsop is combined with dempa, where it means gunsop truth. Gunsop truth, truth for a concealer, that's the same. Truth for a concealer, so gunsop dempa. Sometimes when the gunsop is used differently, in different contexts, and then it can mean relative or interdependent. It can mean worldly conventions. And this will be explained further down. It seems a little confusing, but it will be explained. Because there's a difference between existing conventionally and being a conventional truth. For some of you, this may sound familiar. For some of you, it's not. But never mind. Let's leave it at the time when it comes. But you see how the word kunzo can use differently in different contexts. But here, when we say this is a conventional truth, okay, to keep it as easy as we can, this is a conventional truth because it is a truth for a kunzo, for a concealer. So it means concealer. Yes.
The three meanings are not do not appear in the Hebrew version.
Oh.
So I'll ask Gila to edit, but just for now we can say that the first one is chosem, מסתיר slash חוסם. The second one is יחסי or interdependent. קיים בתלות, יש? I don't have it, sorry.
בעמוד 8, מעל דוגמאות של אמיתות מוסכמות.
I don't have it, okay. Oh, no, okay, sorry.
Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah. So let me just finish the examples of the conventional truth, and then I'll take questions. So examples of conventional truth are all impermanent phenomena. Anything, any kind of object of the senses, anything that changes moment by moment is always a conventional truth. So consciousness, actions, colors, shapes, sounds, smells, and so forth, as well as permanent phenomena other than emptiness. The phenomena that do not change moment by moment, that are not emptiness, that are not an ultimate truth. Emptiness is the only object that's not a falsity, that is not a truth for a concealer. Everything else is. And let's see, we'll see why. Okay, we'll see why. Alright, let's take questions. I'd like to take questions now, because we have half an hour more to take your questions. If we run out of questions, then fine, I can go on and continue. But this is Israel, I don't think we run out of questions. I have already stood waiting here. So maybe I'll start with those ones, because they were on my table, and then I'll take your question.
I want to ask
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sometimes we have some very traumatic situation.
Yes.
A very traumatic situation. Only the person sometimes has combinations, like accumulations and violence.
Yes.
It's not only the words. It's something that really happened, even if it's happened in the past.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have the conclusion of this today.
Yes.
So you can say that it's only the words and it's not the truth, because it was.
Ah, okay. I never said that these are not existent. You see, I say they are not truth. But I didn't say that they are not. You see, don't think of the word truth in the ordinary day-to-day life. They are true. In everyday life, they're true. Of course, they happen. They're existent. They're true. I said in the context of the true truth, the word truth is used differently. Okay? So in the everyday kind of sense of truth, they're true. They happened. They really happened. Okay? Here only in this context. I just redefine the word truth in this context. What I'm saying is these events that happened, the horrific events that happened in the past and they're still happening. So these events do happen. In that sense, they're true. But in the sense of not being true means they appear one way, but they exist in a different way. They appear to be totally independent of our perception. Totally independent. In that way, they're not true. They exist, but in dependence on our perception. Okay? So no one is saying they don't exist. It's very important. They exist because they exist in dependence on our mind. Let's just take on the coarsest level. They exist because someone needs to perceive them. There's a perception of them. Someone experiences them. Therefore they exist. But we have a sense they're out there, not dependent on experience. There's this kind of dichotomy. There's this kind of contradiction there. In one way we know people experience it, but we still have a sense they exist out there independently. And the stronger the emotion is that this evokes, this event, the stronger a sense we have it's out there independently, inherently, intrinsically bad. Okay? Independent of factors. And we kind of make it, we don't see it for what it actually is, each and every event. We just put a label bad. And that's it. Okay? And we don't see it for everything. I'm not saying that it's good, but it's also not as simplistic as saying these are the wrong people, these are the right people. Because we do that right away. This is wrong, this is right. Okay? We very much black and white, this kind of black and white, this kind of, it's either this or that. It's just our label. We just label it basically. And then we believe in that label to be true.
So what you want to say is that nothing completely bad, nothing is bad.
Nothing is absolutely very good. You can never say, that's a very good way of putting it. You can never say that something is totally bad. Because for some people there's benefit. For some people there's a disadvantage. There's nothing. You cannot bring up anything that is just totally bad. There's always something, at least you learn something from it, or you get something from it. It's dependent on the mind. Good or bad is totally dependent on the mind. On the person perceiving it. It depends on that. For a very great bodhisattva, okay, let me give you an example. For someone who's a great spiritual practitioner, if someone comes into a room now and, like, let's say, like Venerable Рита, she's a great bodhisattva, okay? So someone comes into the room and says, you are horrific, you're horrible, you're this, you're that. She's like, thank you so much. I got an opportunity to practice patience. What a great opportunity. My teacher has just arrived. If that same person comes up to me, I go, how dare they? My enemy, they're there, need to be destroyed, right? Same thing, but different perception of that.
And if he comes with a gun?
If he comes with a gun, and Venerable Рита, she's like, oh my God, I hope he doesn't harm himself by shooting me. I hope I can do something to help this person so they don't accumulate that negativity by shooting me. If it helps me, if it helps this person to become a better person by shooting me, please shoot me. I go on, I'll continue. Just this lifetime be gone, I don't go out of existence. Just this body goes. It's a bit like this person tears away my clothes, I just take on a different pair of clothes. You know, taking a new life really doesn't seem that way. It doesn't seem to me, sorry, I sound very confident here. I am very attached to this body, don't get me wrong. So if someone tries to take this away, woo. But there's nothing about this body. I mean, I gave this example previously, or maybe you remember. In my previous life, I was a dog maybe, right? I'm thinking maybe I was a dog in a Tibetan monastery because I have some strong imprints. So maybe I was like a fluffy little white dog, you know, Hasa Apso. And my fluffy little body was very precious. That was I cherished that fluffy little body, right? Its tail, everything. Yeah? And now, when I died, I let go of that fluffy little body, and now I'm attached to this, right? I got used to being attached to this. And in the next life, I'll be, you know, attached to whatever kind of body I have. Okay? So really, it's just my attachment that makes it so unbearable. But if I can let go, and like Рита, the great bodhisattva, who's on a high level, who's come to understand that things don't exist solidly, really on a deeper level. Right now, it's scary to us. Pardon?
Very hard, like in the Holocaust, like
very hard.
They put your babies on the wall, and it's very hard.
Yes, yes, yes. No, and we need to not start with the Holocaust, because that's a very emotionally entrenched phenomenon, right? Very, very strong. Let's not start with that, right? But it's still important to look at the Holocaust not as some Holocaust over there, this cloud of Holocaust, but see each and every situation, right? See each and every situation, okay? Because there's individuals, and there's the people who did horrific things, and then there's people that experienced horrific things, but each one's experience is different. So we call the Holocaust, we impute Holocaust of the whole happening, but it takes on a different meaning. It's this horrific things that is ever pressed onto the Jewish people, right? It's like they're forever the victim of that, okay? And it's a heavy load that people carry, okay? I'm on the other side. Actually, you're on the side. The Holocaust oppresses on me as a German person. I'm the offender. I wasn't even born. My grandfather was a Nazi, by the way. But I didn't even meet him. Okay? So it's like, but still, the Holocaust presses on me. Okay? And it's just the same to me. So we need to look for things really. And you know, Boaz said something very interesting to me. Boaz. Does everyone know Boaz? Some of you may know Boaz. Very intelligent man. Very intelligent Israel. So we had this talk one day in Tushita. We had a talk in Tushita. We talked about this whole guilt thing. You know, he's the victim, I'm the offender. Being German, I feel very much as the offender, and he is the victim. You know what he said? He said, wouldn't that be funny if I was a Nazi and you were a Jew who was killed in the Holocaust? It's like, what? I thought, well, how interesting, because maybe I was the victim. I feel an inherently guilty person. But maybe actually I did die in the Holocaust. And he said, you know, it's like, I don't want to say that. He said it. I can't even, maybe he was a Nazi. He said, well, maybe I was a Nazi. So here I am, feel like the victim, but actually I wasn't the victim. You see? So from a Buddhist point of view, we don't know. So we feel like because we're Jewish, we are the victim of the Holocaust. We don't even know what we were in our previous life. Maybe we were an Indian sadhu somewhere in the Himalayan mountains. So this lifetime we identify with being Jewish, with being the victim. It's just another label that's given. Not saying that this what actually happened, but who were the people that actually were affected by the Holocaust? You were affected, okay. But many of them, the younger generations, definitely, I mean, affected directly, I'm saying, directly. Indirectly, I mean, the whole country is, I think, the whole nation is affected by it, indirectly, through our relatives and so forth. But the people that were actually directly, it's a certain, but we don't look at it that way. It takes on a different reality. Let's put it that way. It is horrific, there's no question about it, right? But it takes on a different reality, and it becomes permanent. It becomes something we cannot let go of. And that's the main pain. We suffer so much from that because of we holding on to it. That's the main pain. That's the main problem. So from a Buddhist perspective, everyone has their own freedom to do it, but if we don't want to suffer in that way, let's look at it again, okay? And see how much we've kind of added to that and how much we added to our own pain. How much do we add to our own pain? But I'm in a very difficult position to talk about this, honestly. This is scary. I'm not like Rabina, you know, Rita, you know, straightforward, and of course, they have the right nationality to be that way.
Which is an illusion.
Yeah, you're right, but it doesn't feel to me like that, seriously. 18 years of, whoa, you know, it's like my whole upbringing, you know, that was the being part on this side. That was my upbringing. Yes?
But if I don't say speak about Holocaust, I speak about something more simple, like to have a child.
Okay, let me just wait for the microphone. Yeah, sorry, I forgot.
I don't think about Holocaust or something like figure like that. I know.
כן.
It's not working.
אני אדבר חזק. I don't speak about Holocaust.
Yeah.
Or something big like that. I speak about some more simple situation like have a child.
The death of a child. So you don't just speak about the Holocaust, you speak about something like the death of a child.
To have a child.
To hurt a child.
To have a child.
To hurt a child, yeah.
It's not absolutely bad to have a child.
To what?
Depends on from whose perspective. You see, it depends on okay, I'm not saying it's not bad. It is bad. Because conventionally it's bad, therefore it's bad. But you see, like to hurt a child, what does it mean to hurt a child? Exactly, you mean kill the child?
It's many ways to hurt.
Okay, let's say kill the child. From a Buddhist perspective, okay, there's a way it's horrific, killing someone. For the parents, oh my God, the pain. For the child, losing its life. But from another perspective, whatever happens to us is the result of our past actions. Okay? For all of us. And let me be clear on this. We all have the karma to die in a Holocaust. Except that for some people it ripens at some point, for other people it ripens at a different life. I don't know whether I died at a Holocaust in the past and when I will in the future. You know, we have all these actions. Since beginning is time, we have done actions that are harmful to ourselves and others. So, it's a result of certain actions. No one deserves to die, no one deserves to suffer. But it's still, that's the result of whatever action we've done. So if now a child is killed, it doesn't mean the child goes out of existence. The child has just gotten rid of one karma, one negative karma, in the sense that this karma to die in such a way is gone, which is good news. In that sense, you could say there's something positive. I mean, I find it easy if I talk from my own perspective, because it makes me sound harsh. But if I now die, okay, someone comes up and kills me in the most horrific way, I really don't want that. And oh my God, in that moment, I'd be horrified. However, in a sense, if I think about it a little bit more in a subjective way, in an objective way, kind of keep a little bit of more of a distance, it's the fact that this action gets rid of a karmic seed. That is the result of my action. So in that sense, well, that one is gone. Can't experience that one again. Whew, good done, well done, right? I mean, someone steals my money now or something, you know, I'm still alive, I can still consciously think so. So I go, oh great, now the karma of having stolen something is gone. Just be careful I don't accumulate it again, but that one is gone. So there's that positive, okay? You can look at it from that positive angle. Now, for the mother, oh my God, I cannot imagine. I know I mean, I don't even know, but I have a sense that for a mother to lose her own child, it's like the worst thing ever. I mean, not having children, it's very hard to really understand it, but having talked to mothers, now my own mother, I get a sense for it. Okay? So it's nothing that I would ever wish anyone. But if it still happens, for that mother, also a negative karma is now gone. And she'll continue, and in this lifetime there's great pain. But she'll be reborn, and the moment she's reborn, that pain is gone. Pain is only on a coarser level, and then we're reborn with a fresh mind. Right? I mean, so it's not permanent, in other words. It'll pass. And it's the result of actions in the past, but these will pass. They're not permanent. Everything will continue. And the child continues anyway. I mean, it's our perception of death. Death is the end of everything. Now it's the beginning of something new. Right? The death of a child is also the birth of a new child. Because that child is reborn somewhere else. It continues. So it's just every night we go to sleep. It's the death of today. And the birth of a new beginning. It's all relative. You see, we look at birth as inherent birth. Birth is wonderful. We celebrate birth. Right? Actually, when I saw my nephew, I started crying out of, happiness. It was such an awe. Right? It was such a strong feeling of, wow. Because it's so deeply ingrained in me. Whoa, this happiness. But because in my mind, it's just the beginning. It's actually the death of something. It's the end of that living being of their previous state. But I didn't feel sad about it. I only looked at it as an inherent new beginning. But the death, you see, every moment is the beginning of something and the end of something else. Every moment is. So our death too. Except we cannot perceive that person. We don't have that ability, so therefore for us it seems finite. Okay? Even though actually when we separate from someone and we don't see them again our entire life, actually for them, for us they're dead in a sense. But we don't see it that way. Okay? Actually, that's it. We don't see them again our entire life. So death is just because we don't see them again. But from a Buddhist point of view, you meet again. Right? It's not like the person dies and that's it. I mean, how many times do we walk into a room, we see someone, we go, wow, I like them. Okay? Or love on first sight. Okay? There's no love on first sight. Because it's not the first time you met. You met previously, so you connect right away. So the people we're around, oftentimes we have a strong karmic connection. Maybe they were our children in the past. Maybe we were their parents. It keeps changing. So we meet the people again. That's the good news. In that sense, in this lifetime, it's just we can only just see this. But there's so much more. We continue on and we meet the same people again. We've met them infinite times. They were our children infinite times. So you see, it seems to be so negative in that moment, but when we look at the wider picture, there's a whole new reality to it. Does that help a little bit? Like if someone loses their child, it's just for a while you separate, but you'll meet again. Right? In a different form, you may not remember. And in fact, every one of you has been my mother, endless time. All of you have been my mother, infinite times. And I've been your children infinite times. And you've been my children infinite times. Right? But we just think, my child in this lifetime, as if inherently this was the only possibility. No, everyone has been your child. Everyone has been your son and daughter. But we don't see it that way, because we limit it in our perception. And I know it's hard to believe right now. It's very hard to believe. But with time, it makes more and more sense. And it explains a lot why we meet someone and we automatically like them or dislike them. Because maybe in just in a very close life previously, we've been very close to them or not. Okay, explains a lot of things why we connect with people in certain ways. Okay, anyway, does this answer a little bit? A little bit. A little bit is good. A little bit is great. I don't need more for now. Okay, one of you were there first. No, oh, and let's pass. Oh, it's still not working. All right, let me repeat the question.
For me, it makes me more confused. Because if I'm a good practitioner, I see it as someone killed a child that's supposed to be like happy. I'm supposed to not like. I don't understand.
Okay, so you're saying that if you're a good practitioner, you should be happy when a child dies. No! Sorry. If that's what I said, I apologize. I didn't say it correctly. No, that's not what I meant. No. But, you see, we have a tendency of seeing it either as good or bad. We don't see the entire picture. Because this good and bad are relative. Okay? Depending on a perspective. So, there is a perspective in which that is bad. Because it's relatively bad, it is bad. Alright? Because it gives suffering to a mother, it is bad. Because it gives suffering to that person dying, it is bad. So a good practitioner sees it for that too. And has compassion, develops compassion for mother and child. Especially the mother, the people who are left behind. But from another perspective, for a practitioner, seeing also that there's gray areas and there's also some advantage. In the sense that, okay, now the karma is gone. That one karma is gone. And it teaches, sometimes times of trouble teach us a lot. Right? I've had times of trouble, and when I had the times of trouble, I didn't look at it that way. I just wanted it to go away. But in retrospect, I've become stronger. I've learned things. So for this mother, for example, even though she loses her child, and it's horrific, and it scars her for life, but it may increase her compassion and care for others who are in the same situation. Maybe her life previously was very limited to just her family. Maybe this brings out this compassion and she wants to help other people, benefit them. A lot of people, you look around, the people that really do a lot for other people, usually they have some first-hand experience. Compassion is defined as a mind that wants others to be happy, free from suffering. I need to know what suffering is to understand what it feels like for someone else, right? If I didn't suffer ever, very difficult to have compassion for someone who suffers. I don't know what they're going through. So if you've gone through something yourself, your care and love for others are much greater. So I'm not saying everyone goes through that. Some people, they just shut themselves off. But oftentimes it gives people an opportunity to grow spiritually, to find meaning in their life in a way which they couldn't have found before. Right?
The way you describe it,
yes.
It's like there is good things you can do, like the mother after there is bad things.
Yes, because you can see, you can utilize that negative situation and you transform it to your own advantage.
So I see, I see good and bad still exist. But
yeah, they do. As I said, they exist because they relatively exist. I said that it is bad relative to the mother who to me, it's like it doesn't affect me. So it's not as bad to me as it is to the mother, first of all. There's degrees of badness, okay? Dependent on the person. So therefore, it is conventionally bad and it's conventional. It's good, it's both, it has both aspects to it. But that's where positive thinking comes in. I can choose to not focus so much on the negative, but choose to focus on the positive. Okay? Yes?
I'm not sure it's the time to ask, but when you're saying it, I'm trying to think why can't we kill? And why it's not okay?
Oh,
and
who said we cannot kill?
No, we can't, but we shouldn't.
We can't? We shouldn't?
We can, but we shouldn't.
No, it's okay sometimes.
Strictly
speaking, but go on.
And
Does that answer your question right away? So I can just maybe-
no, I just don't understand why it seems like it's inherently bad to kill.
It seems it's inherently bad to kill. Very good. Okay, so he says inherently bad to kill. It's not inherently bad to kill.
No,
It's not bad to kill. It's conventionally, because it's conventionally considered to be harmful, but there's actually occasions where it would be okay to kill out of great care and compassion. Pardon?
Out of pity, pityness for a
No,
child.
pity is not such a good word. I prefer the word compassion. Like out of care for the other person. Let me give you an example. And it's difficult. But since we talked about the Holocaust, so I might as well go. If I had known what Hitler was about to do, okay, if I had known before, and if I was a great practitioner, or, you know, Venerable Rita being a great practitioner, okay? So,
maybe for the people who don't know me, then just tell them that it's just an example.
well, it is still an example. I mean, I think it's... no, but I mean still. The point is, so let's say for the sake of the argument, it's like a person living in Germany at that time, being a bodhisattva. Now, for a bodhisattva loves sentient beings in exactly the same way. And this bodhisattva, surprise, surprise, loves Hitler the same way as he loves all other sentient beings. Okay? So, same love and care. Now, it hasn't happened yet. It's 1939. Okay? It's only just started. Now, this person, out of great compassion for Hitler, knowing what he's about to do, would kill him. To save him from, save the other people, you know, the Jews, the Gypsies, everyone else that was killed, all the other people that were killed indirectly anyway. And on top of that, save Hitler from engaging these negativities and hoping, well, that he won't do it again. Okay? So this would be an act of killing that is not bad, because it's the motivation that counts. It's the motivation that counts. It's the motivation to benefit. And therefore, in this case, but of course this is tricky. We should not fool around with this. In most cases, in 99.999%, when we kill, there's anger and hatred, and it just breeds more anger and hatred. But I'm not saying there's inherently bad. Yes.
But isn't motivation also a result of karmatic influence?
Yeah, all right, it is. So it has its causes and conditions. It is dependent on causes and conditions. So that's
if
okay.
the German bodhisattva would have killed Hitler,
Yes.
it would prevent Hitler from fulfilling his own karmic imprint, and also the millions who were killed.
Okay, the karmic influence
the
is...
opportunity to get rid of.
No, but there's other ways you can get rid of your karma. You don't need to live it out. You can purify your karma in other ways. When we do positive actions, many times, or most of the time, I would argue that you purify some negativity of the past.
But positive actions are also a result of karma imprint.
I mean, positive actions are the result of habits. Yeah, that's fine. So, if I kill Hitler, I give Hitler the opportunity to not engage in those negativities, plus to possibly accumulate positive actions, which will habituate him to not become a genocide instigator. Whereas the people that have saved, well, it gives them more time, and the karma changes all the time, our imprints change. So our positive actions can purify our negativities, right? Our negative actions can destroy our positive actions, of course, likewise. So to save someone is absolutely necessary, because maybe if someone is a Buddha, all right, things are different. You would know exactly what to do. But still, nevertheless, you would always try to save someone's life. Because, you see, we have this life and we have learned everything we have. We have this precious human body, a human body existence too. So to save a precious human body, because we could be reborn as animals, and then things are a lot worse. If we're reborn as a lion, that is instinctive urge to kill, very hard to get out of that again. So it's important to save human life because it's so precious, it's so valuable. And we've learned so much, and we can do so much with this lifetime not to kill someone. And therefore, to save them at all costs. It gives them the opportunity to purify that karma.
But doesn't it mean that for example, dying in a Holocaust is objectively worth than changing your karma in a different way?
We don't know. But just to be on the safe side, we don't know. Okay, so I think it's always, anyway, I don't want to go into all these nitty-gritty discussions. That could be discussion in the discussion group, okay? And I have those too, okay? I don't want to... If not mistaken, then dependent arising depends on conditions. If I'm not mistaken, I think it means, right? If I'm not mistaken, dependent arising depends on condition, parts, and the mind that imputes. Could there be a contradiction between the three and what they...
Overrules.
Overrules. And what overrules? No, there's no contradiction. There's no contradiction. It's like this truck depends on causes and condition. That does not contradict it depending on parts. And that does not contradict it to be dependent on imputation. They don't contradict each other. They complement each other.
If I have a karmic seed that is going to ripen now,
yes,
and would create for me not a truck but a small car.
Yes. Okay.
And then terms and conditions create a truck.
But then it's not your truck. I mean, you have the karma to own this one truck, but not the other truck. Doesn't mean one exists and one doesn't. I mean, you have both trucks, but you have the karmic seed to have that small truck. So some of the causes and conditions for you to have that truck is your karmic seeds, and the causes and conditions of this truck to exist in the first place are, the person that made the truck and so forth. That doesn't contradict anything.
Since we don't know what are my karmic seeds,
yes, that's
until we are Buddha,
yeah,
then whatever happens is a result of our karmic seeds, and actually the terms and conditions are not taking any part in this, because the terms and conditions would create themselves so that the karmic seeds that we don't know would create that reality.
I think I lost you there. The causes and conditions that you don't know are karmic seeds. Okay.
Dependent arising depends on three things.
Yes, dependent arising. I mean, phenomena are dependent in terms of three things, especially impermanent phenomena. Yeah.
Okay, but when we say that karma creates our imputations, and that in turn creates our reality.
No, karma, you see, what do you mean with karma?
Our karmic seeds that ripen right now.
Our karmic seeds are responsible for our future imputation, and that future imputation is like the chicken and egg situation.
No, but to continue what I'm saying, if our karmic seeds create our imputations, and our imputations create
They don't create our imputation. They are responsible. So the karmic seeds are the karma, for example, to have this present mind, which in turn is then responsible for imputation. So in that sense you could say, yeah, our karmic seed do cause our present mind, which imputes. Yes.
Okay, and our imputations create our reality.
Yes, they create our reality, exactly. Yes.
So our karmic seeds create our reality.
They're a part of it. It's like you always have lots and lots of causes that bring together one result. So our karmic seeds are also responsible for our present reality. Yes.
But since that is true, and we don't know our karmic seeds,
since we don't know our karmic seeds,
we can never compare them to terms and conditions or to parts. So actually, the other two are redundant.
They're not redundant because they're also very much responsible. Your parts are also responsible for your existence. So let's say you as a person, you depend on causes and conditions, you depend on your parts, and you depend on a mind that imputes the wrong. Okay, that's it. Whether we know exactly what these are, it's a different matter. It's too complicated, too intricate to really know. But that still doesn't, you see, look at one phenomenon. So what is responsible? Your mind is responsible for imputing Duran. So your mind is one of the minds that is responsible for bringing into existence Duran. And then that imputing mind, your imputing mind, is also dependent on causes and conditions. It is dependent on parts, former moments of mind, later moments of mind. And if any of those were missing, you couldn't have the whole picture. You could not have the same result. So you need all of them. If one of them was missing, It's not like one was there and the other therefore become redundant. No, you need all of them. You need, for this truck, you need all three. If you didn't have causes and conditions that preceded it, you wouldn't have a truck. If you didn't have the parts, you wouldn't have a truck. If you didn't have a mind that imputed truck, you wouldn't have a truck. If one of them is missing, the truck doesn't exist. Okay? You need all three. Okay. This one. This one I'll leave for later. Oh, well. Okay, I'll just read it. In ultimate truth, does anything exist outside the mind? No. In other words, in ultimate truth, in ultimate truth, the word is not used in that way. It's like, from the point of view of the ultimate truth, you could say maybe, or just from the point of view of emptiness, or from the point of view of reality, does anything exist outside of the mind? In other words, independent of the mind. Outside of the mind is weird because outside, inside, it seems to like imply some space, so you don't actually have that truck enter my mind. But does that truck exist independent of my mind? No, it doesn't. Okay? Out of, not in. It says in brackets.
Not part of, because a thought is part of my mind.
Yes.
And something that is not a thought, not a feeling, is not a part of my mind.
Oh, that's true. Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, the truck is out here. It's not saying that the truck is in your mind. No one says that. But for the truck to be a truck, it depends on your mind. Okay? Does that make sense? There's a difference.
Just to clarify the last bit,
yeah.
If I may. When you say the ultimate truth is only in your mind, so to speak, not in, but is caused by the mind. Is that because the ultimate truth is also something that is imputed? Or is
exists dependent on your mind. So the ultimate truth exists dependent on the mind because also the ultimate truth is merely imputed. Very good, merely imputed. Yes, it's merely imputed. Anyway, I really need to leave it there. I forgot to look at my watch, so I've been 10 minutes late. This is not good. I've been holding you for more than 2.5 hours. So not to lose your enthusiasm. But basically the point, well, we get back to this, please keep the silence, and most important is really the meditation. So to have enough energy, and trust me, what I say right now, it goes in and parts of it goes out again. So the point is really now to focus on it and reflect upon that in a more intense way. That's when changes really take place. Okay, so just to make sure, okay, it's like a long day, it's going to be a long weekend, but never mind. It is highly effective and we shouldn't waste any moment. And therefore don't speak, because talking is, all your energy is gone. And it doesn't keep you focused. That's the only reason. It's not that you shouldn't socialize and whatever, but if you don't speak, if you don't socialize, your energy is preserved for doing what you're doing this weekend, and that's what you came here for, right? And I'll take more questions later.
Short mandala, page 9 in English, עמוד 25. מנחת אדמה זו משוחה בקטורת עטורת פרחים, עדויה בהר מרו, בארבע היבשות, בשמש ובירח. הולד בדמיוני כשדה בודה, ואותה אגיש לכם כמנחה, לו ייהנו כל הנודדים משדה טהור זה. אידם גורת נמנדלם קרנייתנמי.
Okay, so we have a 20 minutes break, maybe? And then we meet for the meditation.